One.
Hello. Today we're going to talk about the process of purging in Ascension. Ada has a beautiful experience to share with us that she's going through today and yesterday, and I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, guys. So this past Monday night, I hosted my first hape and cacao ceremony with a really good friend of mine, Heather. And when I was serving hape at the end, Heather and I both decided to take a small little bump. And in that moment, we were like trying to take a small bump so that we can be in this frequency with everybody. And I personally heard, you need to throw up. And I was like, oh no, I am not going to throw up right now, not in front of like 20 people. So I didn't throw up. And so the following day, I had a session with a good friend of ours, and my body started to vibrate. And then I did another bump of hape because I was like, okay, maybe it had something to tell me and I didn't listen to it. And so I did it, and I threw up for literally like 7 hours straight. Like for 4 hours, it was like straight. And then the other 3 hours was like here and there, but I purged so much out of my body. And it was interesting because I feel that like I've been doing so much like energy work for the past 6 months, like very consistently, especially working with the both of you guys, just going in, doing one thing after another. And I guess, I don't know, do you guys think it's like we worked on the spiritual part and now my body is starting to actually purge, or is there a connection between the two? Because I've never done so much energy work all in one time span like this. And I've never purged it.
So let me ask you, when you did that, what did you feel? What came through? When you were purging, what sensations, what thoughts, what visions came through? Because that's really important to know. What is it that you're letting go of?
Yeah, well, at first I was like, I guess I'm just throwing up now. And then towards the middle of it, I started to realize that I was purging a lot of my ancestral, like the woman in my lineage. I was like purging a lot of their stories and a lot of the roles that they were playing in their lives, because women in Vietnam were equal back in the days, like long ago with the men. Like, we went to work and we did a lot of things that were equal, but after China took over, like a lot of it changed, and like the status changed, and the woman had to stay home, had to cook, had to clean, and all the men had to go to work. So it was like I was purging out like all of the stories from the female lineage, but I was also like at the same time purging out like the male stories, like on my dad's side of like the men had to be a certain way. They had to like make all this money. They had to bring money home. They had to do all this. It was just like, I guess like societal and cultural roles that we all play. It like somehow lived in me, and I didn't even know it because, Andrew, my fiance, he recently got a job who now he's making, 6 figures, and he was like, I'll pay for everything, honey. You don't have to worry about anything at all. And I was so resistant to that. And I was like, no, I'm going to make my own money. I don't need you. And I'm like, well, he's gonna be my husband. Why am I so resistant? And yesterday when I was purging, I realized I was purging all of those stories and all those roles, which is funny because I feel like working with the both of you guys, I feel like there were a lot of things that we worked on as well too, that were like the layers of it,
Yeah. So I noticed that also with a lot of my clients lately. It's a lot of clearing, and we talked a little bit about cleansing our body the other day, but it is about purging and clearing a lot of beliefs, a lot of ancestral and stuff from your lineage and from your own soul, and things that are kind of stuck in the body. So it's a beautiful process, and I've heard a lot of people who do that and go through the process, either through a purge that is physical, like literally throwing up, literally taking it out, which is again feels a little violent, but it is truly clearing and pushing and moving away a lot of trapped emotions, a lot of trapped beliefs from the body, and it's really helpful and good, and it does take different forms. People can have a form of purge. I mean, there's you can say more gentler ones, like going to a sweat lodge. There's also a process of cleansing and detoxifying yourself from especially if you go with a certain thing, going to even like just a sauna. things like that. So that's really helpful. And I've started doing that lately, and it's really a little gentler, and allows to do on a regular basis without having to suffer, really, because I'm sure that it didn't feel that great. So, and there's other ways of doing it. So Jennifer, you have a story to share about that?
Yeah, and just some thoughts. So I'm a practitioner of angelic earth resonance, and one of the things that comes up in a typical, Kundalini activation session is all the things in the somatic field, in your subconscious, that are in the way of you embodying your light. So as the session unfolds, you get to experience that bliss you couldn't express. You might be taken back to a traumatic moment, and surrounded in that unconditional love, you're able to really process that in a gentler way. Like maybe you repressed it because it was so intense and you couldn't or didn't have the physiological capability at the time to, even broach the idea of experiencing it. And so it just got locked in there. And then this brings it back up to the surface. And then within the guides, within source energy, surrounded by your own higher self, you're able to move through that and to, realize what we have inside of us. And some of those stories, we're not even conscious of. Most of them are things that we couldn't even know were there, related to our lineage or related to moments when we were babies.
That's right.
And some of the ways that I personally process, because everyone processes differently. And I, aside from when I experienced ayahuasca, I'm not a puker. And so it's for me dancing. And a story that I remember really fondly is when I was first beginning my path, I went to a Krishna temple, and there was this big festival in Utah. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Krishna temple there, but they do these amazing, huge festivals with so many people. And, the monks there, if that's what they're called, they really embrace happiness and joy, and there's singing and there's dancing. And I danced for 10 hours at that festival. And, you dance past the sunset and into the morning. And I remember a lot of times when I was really struggling, going into song or going into dance to be able to process through that. And with light language, I was singing through my entire divorce. Like my son at one point is like, "Mom, you're crazy. You've been singing the whole day. Could you please stop?" I'm like, "No, not unless you want me to fall apart. I need to sing right now." or laughing or crying, those all come really natural to me. So sometimes I'll get off the table after an angelic earth resonance session, because that, you're clearing your whole field, and I will just cry or just laugh hysterically, or just be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go sing for the next 3 hours. I'll see you guys later."
So it's all a process of that. From what I'm hearing for you, it's also just holding a certain vibration and going to this meditative state, and going to the place of like, okay, I'm moving, and I'm creating, but definitely like another way of purging is cry and laughter. As I said, cry, laughter. And I see a lot of like with my clients, it's the process of crying is so releasing, especially when you do a process and like so we do a session where they meet their whatever inner child, or they do work with some of their ancestors, or anything like that. It is very it feels very personal, very, very powerful, or just really meeting their greater parts of themselves, or just making peace with a part of themselves. So it's always like very, very monumental piece, and their release through crying. You can see the release through that they're doing through the crying. And after that, when they come out of it, they're like, "Oh wow, I never cried like that." And like, that's okay, that's good. I'm sure you feel that much more relieved, like, "Oh yeah, I feel so much lighter, so much clearer." So there's different ways, and we all need to do that as part of our ascension process. It's really, we need to make sure that we allow ourselves some kind of avenue of purging, clearing, that is releasing things from the body. And it's not only from the body, from the physical body, it's energetically, of course, emotionally, mentally. You're clearing so much, and we need to do that in order to progress into our ascension. And otherwise we cannot move to the next level. We cannot move to the next level within ourselves. What is our next level? Well, some things need to be let go of in order to move forward and move upwards. You cannot fly up into the sky with a hot air balloon if you're still tethered to the ground or have all those sacks of sand. So that's the best metaphor to see it. Like, you need to drop those sacks of sand that hold you, weigh you down, and cut those ropes so you can start really going up and enjoying it.
Yeah. Harry, can you actually explain a little bit more about Ascension? Because yesterday when I was puking and stuff, I felt my body was a lot lighter, but then I also felt as if I was opening space for like new energy to come in. Is that Ascension?
Well, that's part of it for sure. It's opening, again, it's clearing what was, and things that have been occupying space energetically, and actually sometimes just actual space in your body, whether it's it manifests in the form of a cyst, a form of a tumor, growth of any kind. That's usually manifestations of that kind. So it can be in many different types, but yeah, it is all part of, again, moving and leaving all those things that have are lower frequencies and have held you back in some way. Again, it could be just beliefs on yourself, not necessarily like religious belief, but beliefs on like, okay, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. That's one of the beliefs I hear the most, that almost everyone has to deal with. And those kind of things hold you back, hold you smaller, a smaller expression of yourself instead of being completely open, free. So it's important to know that it's all part of it. So it's not the only thing you do, but obviously it's a part of the letting go and dealing with the shadow, dealing with the dark areas that most people don't want to touch, and it must be dealt with. And I think that's what we're seeing now a lot. A lot of people see it and are propelled and are moved and are guided to start doing some kind of a purge, some kind of a cleanse, some kind of a movement of energy that they haven't done before in areas that they haven't touched before, or at least deeper layers of same issues if they have a theme in their lives that they're dealing with, like abuse, whatever it was, that they need to make peace with and release a lot of that so they can move forward.
Yeah, I only ask that because every single time when I talk to my clients about Ascension, they're like, am I going to go somewhere? I'm like,
oh,
no.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a, in some way it's a misconception that you are going to go somewhere else. I mean, we do travel a lot in with our consciousness. We go to other lives, we go to other dimensions, we go converse with get some guidance from spirit guides and ascended masters and beings. We do all that stuff, but the part that we need to know, it's not about doing it and going somewhere else. It's about experiencing it and being in that space, being in a different state of being, a different level of consciousness, and interacting with the world, with everything else, with other people at that higher vibration, at that higher resonance, and in a place of pure love and joy and acceptance and oneness and unity consciousness. So all those different things, that's what we're leading towards. It's not about going somewhere else, but experiencing everything from a different, broader perspective, and in a place that is just, you can see it, understand things to the fuller spectrum of the experience, not just from your own little viewpoint, like a little periscope. I feel that when you see things from that smaller you that runs around and fights with traffic and then like it gets a little nervous, it's like that. You only see the world from a very, very narrow space instead of really experiencing like, oh no, it's okay. Everything is smooth flowing. Everything is getting, I'm doing what I need, and just not letting things trigger you. So triggers is another way of, like, if you have triggers, there's work to be done. So you need it. And again, ascension is not a destination that is like, okay, that's it, I'm ascended, I'm good. It's not about that. It's the journey. It's the process of clearing, healing, purging, and expanding your consciousness and doing the same. Another layer of purging and clearing, and then expanding consciousness further. Another process. So it's comes in waves and in phases as you progress through the process of ascension again. And it's not about a destination. It's about the journey and simply raising your vibration and your level of consciousness further and further and further, infinitely.
Yeah, I have another question for you both. I started walking on my path, my spiritual path, back in 2018 when all of this started for me. And prior to that, I'm like, I don't remember, like since 2018 till now, I'm like constantly working. And within the last year, I don't know if it's the energies that are propelling it, the energies of the earth. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's like literally once every 3 to 4 days, I have a trigger and I'm like working on it. I have a trigger, I'm working on it. Prior to that 2018, I'm like, I feel like either I'm one, not aware, or two, like the energies were different back then. And I wasn't triggered all the time, you know? So I don't know, like, is it like, do you feel something's changed, like specifically on the earth in terms of the energy? Like what is it that like I feel, because I see all my clients too. I used to have clients that come to me every 6 months, and then it got narrower. Then it was like 3 months. And then now it's like once every month or every 3 weeks they're coming to me. They're like, things are coming up so much lately.
Jennifer, you want to answer to that?
Oh, yeah, I can. I remember in 2012, there was this really big, the Mayan calendar's ending, and there was so much talk about it and a lot of awareness around what that could mean. And I feel like it's really, for me, been a gateway into stepping in progressively towards embodying higher and higher frequencies within myself. And I feel like that's because the earth is shifting into higher and higher frequencies. And for me, and this is all just experiential, 2019 was a really big portal. Like since then, like I have been working nonstop, and there's like been a significant push this year to step into my power, to hold that light, to be as big as I possibly can, to the point that, I met an enlightened master. I'm, around all these huge, bright consciousnesses, because that's the point where I get to push up into that space, is because I have that example. And that example is allowing me to anchor into my body that space of brightness that the earth really needs right now. I feel like there's an urgency. Like the earth herself is in this precarious position. Like we're hearing a lot about not having enough water. There's droughts going on everywhere. We're seeing fires across Europe. Like we really have this dichotomy. We're either going to choose to step into our power, or we're going to be destroyed. And I don't mean that in any other way except for that. Like it's a literal thing at this point, in my opinion. And so the urgency is pushing me as much as I possibly can to step into it, to embody it, to be love, and to connect with everyone else who, really are aspects of this greater consciousness. The earth herself is an aspect of this greater consciousness, to all come together and make choices that benefit each other, and to have that collective harmony so that we can work together globally to assure our own survival. Like at this point, we are surviving, but there's this time threshold that feels like it's getting close, smaller and smaller. Our window of opportunity to save ourselves and this planet feels more and more urgent. So that's what it means to me. Harry?
Yeah, so it is kind of threefold in as far as saying what's happening and the push, as you're saying, Ada. It is a cosmic push for general evolution. It is a push from the earth itself, its own from Gaia, and its own evolution. And we can see the purging that is happening on the earth, and it is troubling. And it is our own self-destruction that we're bringing. It's not. It's definitely we have opportunity to step up as humanity to address that, and it's becoming more and more apparent that it needs to be addressed now, because we've been ignoring it for too long. And it's it's also happening. So it happens on the cosmic level, on the global level, and on the individual level, because the work is happening on all those levels and all those, because it's all interconnected, of course. And the more, and then some people it's like, well, they feel helpless, or what can I do for the world? Well, you can do whatever you can in your own way, in your own life, where you divert your money and donations, and do some action, some social action in a direction. Get some solar panels, get a that electric vehicle. But it's also a matter of truly cleansing and purging and clearing yourself, so you hold the highest vibration, because we're all together. We are a network of nodes into that overall consciousness of humanity and vibration of humanity. And then the more of us that rise in our own vibration, we are influencing everything else in the global environment. And so if you don't feel anything else you can do, raise your own vibration. That is your biggest task to do, and clear yourself from those things that hold you back and that we just talked about, and move forward as much as you can. Hold the highest light that you can. Meditate every day, and doing those self-care processes, increasing your self-worth, self-love, empower yourself, all those different aspects that must be. And they're not like short-term, like, oh, that's it, I'm empowered. It's not, it doesn't work that way. And you definitely not reach enlightenment and an ascension in a day. Again, it's the journey. But if we focus all of our efforts, and more and more of us do, and focus the intention, attention, and just moving ourselves from that space of being just witnesses to being actively moving and raising the vibration in every way you can, it will bring it'll shift more and more people around, and people who haven't been spirit. I mean, and I think you see that a lot. At least I see it a lot. People who haven't been completely, you can say, spiritually dormant, suddenly are awakening. In the last couple of years, it's just really a big awakening process. And I think it's beautiful. And they come from every field, every section of society. And it's beautiful to see. And you can see that the general push, and it all is interconnected and relying on each other. So it is our job to hold the highest vibration that we can every day, every moment. And that will support everything and move everything forward.
I want to talk a little bit more about that, because I feel like that is really the best thing we can do, even if we have all of these other tools available to us. If we're in a low frequency, like grief, sadness, anger, and we're coming at a problem from that space, then we're going to solve the problem from that space. So individual empowerment is so important. Finding that place within you where you can be peace, where you can be an expression of love and be an expression of joy, and then sharing that with others comes naturally. You don't even have to work at it. It just moves through you. And that's what we want to happen. We want the morphic field of humanity to be holding this consciousness of love and acceptance. And of course, we take care of the earth. Of course, we recycle. Of course, we don't waste water. And of course, we care about diversity. And your differences actually really benefit us. Please be the best version of you that you can be. And I want to help you and empower you to be that. And I don't care what race you come from. We're all Earth citizens, you know? So finding that mutual ground requires you to really love yourself unconditionally, stepping into that power every day, every moment, every thought, every emotion. So even if you're, it doesn't matter what you do, you could be the most powerful person on the planet right now, and you wouldn't be making a big enough difference if you weren't coming from your heart space. That's right. So just really owning that. I want every individual to recognize how important they truly are. And all you have to do as a starting point is don't get overwhelmed, because then you're pouring that into the morphic field. Just take a deep breath, and give yourself self-love and meet yourself where you're at and look at those shadows and be like, I can accept myself in this shadow space. And then you can accept other people in their shadow space.
Yeah. And I want just one more comment about it. It's a good train of thought. And bring it back to your question, what you mentioned earlier, Ada, about awareness. It's when you suddenly become aware of it and suddenly going through the process, it suddenly happens and things starts to unfold, and you work on another thing and another thing, and you start working very fast. And I see that a lot of people work very fast through all their baggage and the things they need to work on much faster than you used to be. I've been around doing it for enough time to see that people used to work on a much slower pace, and now people are like, "Wow, this is happening. I'm feeling it. I'm clearing. I'm like," and they're doing it way more rapidly than before. And that is an example of what you mentioned. Every few days, something else coming up. Every few days coming up, and it's still even that comes in waves. And it definitely is a wave right now. Again, globally, cosmically, and in the human level, it's this wave of like, we need to face this. We need to have the courage and vulnerability to see and witness and reflect ourselves and see like this is where we're at. This is where I am at right now. And this is the fears that I'm holding. And there's a lot of fear still held in the world right now. And that's holding us way back. And it's hard to see that. It looks like a competing political aspect, but it is really fear versus love in the bigger scheme of things, and allowing ourselves to let go of the fears. And too many people are holding to too much fear, and they think they're getting woke, but they're like afraid of all the government, afraid of this, afraid of that. I feel like that's not a way to be. You're holding to too much lower frequencies. Let go of that, shift your beliefs around it. And it doesn't mean like being naive. It's not what I'm saying. Definitely not naive. But people know me personally. I know I am far from that. And it's really just about being aware, being know what's happening, and responding to it with the highest level of consciousness that you can have.
Absolutely. I just want to give a personal client story right now. I have had the honor of working with this amazing woman who's in hospice care, and she just is so present with everyone. And she has this huge intentionality and this really great gift of presence. And she started coming to me because she felt all of these gifts that she's had her whole life. And then, she feels like this urgency to somehow do more. She wants to do more. And so, I'm going into her field, and she's so bright and she's so powerful and she has so much to offer. And I'm just looking for these little points of refinement. Oh, okay, you're really good at holding this energy of love. You're so amazing at healing. But do you hold that for yourself? Do you love yourself? Oh, no. Okay, well, let's work there. Let's get you to the point where you love yourself. And I think that's the conversation a lot of healers have, is that it's natural that for them to give that love to other people. But what is required, I think, for us at this time is to really love and honor ourselves. And so, loving our condition where we're at. And yes, I still have this problem. And yes, I'm still this person. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow and that problem's still going to be there. And I'm going to just slowly make these shifts and changes until I am a master of my life and of myself. And that never stops. Jack Cornfield, is famous for saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
That's right. Beautiful. Beautiful. So yeah, so as you think about how you purge, just check with yourself. What is it how things come out for you? How do you clear things out of yourself? And what is your kind of go-to place? And just know it, be aware of that. And allow yourself to be gentle with yourself, be aware and love yourself, as we mentioned, and just allow that to know it's just a part of the journey. Although it might be uncomfortable at that moment, but it is a part of the journey, and it is benefiting you in the long term.
And benefiting the whole world. So thank you for looking at those uncomfortable spaces. I honor you in that. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Ada, for puking for so long. You did that for the world.
I wish it was dancing.
That's right. That's right. Very cool. Okay. So beautiful. So we'll meet again soon.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.